All right, hello to everyone on a busy month here. I'm going in to my scrap bin again and pulling out some pieces out of here. They're all kind of unconventional sizes, you know, maybe with the popularity of slimline types of cards and formats. You know, maybe these aren't so unconventional, but they're a little bit, I don't know, a lot of times a little bit more narrow than what I'm typically working with. You know, if it was going to be some format that I'm going to be, oh, I don't know, kind of planning for, all right? They're a little bit off from that. So like this one right here isn't quite square. I'd probably go with a square on something like that if I was going to use it. Or design around, you know, design with, I don't know, that type of paper. I wouldn't go with this kind of just, I don't know, whatever, random size like that. But I did this Stampscapes on Scraps video the other day, and I spent a little bit too much time on each one of the pieces. I get really caught up in the details of these pieces when I see them coming together, and I wanted to do some that were a little bit faster to, you know, to complete. So I want to try to do that. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I don't promise anything because if I find something that I'm enjoying doing, or if a scene just needs something, in other words, I feel like I have to do it there, right then and there. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. And, you know, that's kind of the joy of it, kind of creating. Hello, Debbie and Linda. Good to see you. Linda, did you dip into your scraps, or were you only working on those kind of those 11 by those tabloid sized pieces of yours? And how are you both doing today? Tonight? All right, so let's see here. Silver. You know, when I was looking at some of these scrap pieces, I kind of forgot how I did some of these pieces before. You know, I've worked on silver a lot. Hello, CM Hawkins. Good to see you. I kind of forgot how I did some of these. I've been working with so many different types of surfaces over this last year. If you know, if I haven't done like a silver piece in a while, I don't know. I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the sequencing. I probably remember just in general the inks that I used, but I couldn't remember the order that I used them in. Okay, so recently I did a piece on the Star Dream. I think it's called Aquamarine, that really light blue one. And I did those little wispy things. I've done that a lot in the past, but I used, let me say, I used black, and then I used white, and then silver in that sequence. And I think what that is kind of doing, well, on that one it was for visibility too, but on a piece of silver paper like this, I think it will be important for kind of that thin to thick type of sequencing that you would typically do in something like oil painting, okay? It just because, you know, you're not going to go in with a really thick ink or something like that that's still setting up and drying, and then go into it with a thin one and hope that thin one applies over the thick, okay? Because it'll remove the ink that you've already applied, I think. So let's think about it in terms of that thin to thick in this on this one right here. So this is the that really reflective, I think it's Gift Boutique silver foil. Okay, very mirrored. It's what I'm always doing my mirror cards with. So very, very sealed off and non-porous. Hand all swollen. Scraps will wait. I want to watercolor next. Uh-oh. What happened to your hand? Maybe you mentioned that, Linda. Okay, on this one right here, this is a, I think it's a square. But I'm going to do one of those kind of lie on your back and look up at the stars type of scene here. Let's go with, okay, so let's go with, this is what I did on my silver on white on black video. I started off with a bolder image like this in the background so that when I stamp my lighter ones over the top of this, I don't know if it's going to work on this one, you know, because this is so non-porous. I'm going to have to employ the stays on ink here. Work those hands and arms out, Linda. Shoulder, back, and everything like that too. I always try. I don't remember to do this all the time, but I do when I think about it. Kind of, I loosen up my hands, but I'm doing that kind of all the time. If I'm just sitting around watching TV, I'll do this type of thing with my fingers. I'm going like this, and then I'm doing this like individually, okay? And I'm always trying to think of that ergonomic kind of movement. And this is something that we always did in Aikido back then. So you're just kind of bringing that down like that, and it's twisting that arm, and then you're going like this too, that way. So I find myself doing that. I don't know if it's even subconsciously, but I'm doing that a lot. Okay, so vanishing point on here. Okay, I'll put one in there. I don't absolutely have to do this because I'll remember probably where I want something, but let's just create a little bit of a vanishing point. I'll go rule of thirds type of thing. So if you grid this out, roughly right here, right? Thirds, third, third. That's that little section right there as far as like that one point. You don't need to measure things out, but there's my little vanishing point dot. Okay, so I'm going to roughly aim things right there. Sometimes it's a little bit too far over, so I'll move it slightly, but that's where roughly all of these images will be pointed when stamped. All right. Hello in Maine, Harold. Good to see ya. What's the highs temps in Maine right now over in what is it? West Rockport. Is that the city where you guys lived in? That was where the store was, right? Or was that Rockport? I can't remember now. I thought it was West Rockport, though. Okay, so this is the lower section, so I'm going to use this a little bit deeper into this, because if I use it up here, I'm just going to use the tip. So again, this is the stays on black. When I looked at my bunch of scraps here, it was like, I've been using a lot of metallic papers over this last year, so I have a ton of scraps in that. So I thought, for this video here, I might just have to employ the stays on just for drying time and I don't know, whatever, adhering ease. Okay, and again, I just want to make some of these scrap scenes, fairly quickly, which would make kind of sense, being that they're, really small pieces, but I could probably, if I wanted to, I could probably spend an hour on this piece and just get totally lost in the details. I'd probably be putting something back in the, I don't know, the distant galaxies or something like that. Okay, so, just roughly aiming towards that little dot right there, right? And that's your vanishing point. 42 today, lowest 15. Ooh. Now see, that's 42. That was the temperature here, like at, I don't know, like 8 a.m. That's like our morning temperature here. You need to put like a live stream video camera somewhere, Harold, where you can see some, I don't know, like a tree or something like that. So I can watch it change colors during the year. I can log on to your live stream and check that out. Okay, I'm just cleaning off my stamp. I'll be using it again in the stays on during this video, I think. Okay, so there's those trees right there. Now, is white... Okay, white should work on this without any problem. I don't know if I've used white over the black, though, in the past on foil, but hey, we're here to try some things out, right? So let's go with the brilliance because it's going to dry on here. I guess you can emboss, I guess, too. But I'm going to go over it again with silver and try 3 different layers on here. So, I mean, you would only be able to really, I think, emboss that last one because you know what I mean? Because if you have an embossed image and you're putting another one over the top of it, it's going to be 3-dimensional. So I just don't know about that. Wow, Linda, it's blue and ugly. When I saw that, I was thinking about you were talking about a scene, but you're talking about your what is that? What did you say again? Was it your hand and arm is blue? My gosh. You need a stamping assistant, Linda. When you're doing those gigantic scenes like that. I mean, have you had that in the past? You need someone kind of like, as you're stamping, they're like massaging you or something like that. They have a massager on your back, and getting that circulation going. Be sure you're drinking a lot too. Like, I don't know. They say that there was some statistic out there that was saying like 70% of people are kind of dehydrated. And I know that's the case with me sometimes. I just don't drink enough. I think people in general don't drink enough. I'm really conscious of that when I'm out doing outdoor activity and hiking and everything like that. And because you're always planning on how much stuff to drink, that's like the most important thing. But when I'm kind of just sitting around the house, especially if it's kind of cold, you know, like I'm not sitting around drinking coffee and tea all the time. Like something hot. So when it's colder weather, I'm not drinking enough, and I know that affects me because when I do start drinking, it's like, oh, I can really feel it, joints and things like that. All right, so here comes the white here, and all right, now I have to keep in mind that I'm going to be using silver over the top of this, so I want to leave some space for those silver components. So I'm kind of going from thin inks to thicker. Okay, so I'm going with the StazOn, which is really thin, as a solvent ink, to thicker in, okay, so that white ink really shows up really well on there, to silver ink, white to silver. So the silver, the white and silver are both brilliants, but they're not the same viscosity. I think it's just because of that metal's in there, and those metallic inks are just so much thicker. Even if it's within the same line and the same brand, they're just different. Papers too, I found. Man, that is really standing out. It might be standing out almost too much, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so roughly aiming that in towards that. You don't have to be exactly on, but I probably wouldn't go off by, you don't want to be off by, like a half inch or something like that. But you know what I mean? If this is kind of aiming in and, you know, getting around that area, I think it'll be fine. All right, so visually definitely not integrated. It's just too harsh, but that's why we'll put in some splatter painted white to bring that degree of contrast into the entire piece, and hopefully it'll kind of bring it together. All right, so let's see. So there's a lot of contrast because this piece is, it's also, well, there I am. But it's going to be lighter, okay, just in general, than what this is showing right here. I mean, there's a huge amount of contrast like this, because that's like, I don't know, like 90, yeah, whatever, 80% gray or something like that. But it definitely needs some integration for sure. The thing that I'm kind of wondering about is if I should do that right now or if I should do it after the silver components. Let's go ahead and add in the silver though and see how that works. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, put it on ice. Put that stamping arm on ice. I don't know, get some circulation going, drink a lot. And get that stamping that stamping massage assistant there. All right, Starlight Silver, I think. One of my favorite silvers out there. Yeah, not whiskey, Linda. Those were some big pieces, though, Linda. I mean, but you've done those before, you know, with your pieces before. I don't know, was there anything different that you were doing? Um, all right, here comes the Starlight Silver. Ooh, that Starlight Silver looks fantastic in there. Okay, so I'm going thin to thick as far as the imagery goes. I mean, the inks go, right? But I'm kind of going thick to thinner with the images. You know, because if I went with, you know, a small image like that, I mean, I guess you could do it. I guess you can oscillate it back and forth, but I just think the thicker images in the foreground would just cover up too much. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you go black, white, silver, something like that. Then you put another black one over the top of it. You know what I mean? So it's, and then you can put another one here and there, or something like that. And you can probably do things like that. I need to use more of that Starlight Silver on silver, and the gold on gold too. But this Starlight Silver is just amazing. It gives it's like the perfect viscosity for an ink. Um, it's not too thick, or it's thick enough, but it's not so thick. Like the gold one, I like the gold too, but it's just so thick and it dries crazy. It dries so fast, and I don't know, you're constantly having to re-ink that pad every time you use it. I don't have that problem with the Starlight Silver for some reason. Okay, let me see here. Now this really could go any way, but I'm going to put this word stamp in here. It just needs some kind of anchoring kind of element in here for visual stability like this. But this one's going to get would look great. I think matted in some white and maybe some silver on the outside. Smaller versions of this, maybe not with so many different images, but I think that would look pretty good as a little ornament or something like that, or a gift tag. And I do think embossing on this might be interesting too. I don't know how you do that. I don't know if you would stamp everything and just do like a clear embossing pattern that would stick to both the white and the silver, or if you just do, maybe you heat set the white maybe, and then just emboss maybe the silver bony, leafless trees. I'm not sure. Hello, AJ. Hello, Cindy. Cotton balls and paper towels. I'll pull out the stylus tool. Maybe, maybe on those larger pieces, Linda, too. Maybe try a larger applicator or something like that. Or, you know what I mean, with the paper towels, go with a larger thing. And I don't know. I don't know if this would help at all, but my teacher was always talking about how, you want to use your whole body. He talked about artwork and drawing, doing any type of mark as being kind of a dance where you're incorporating your whole body too. So I don't know, just being kind of conscious of your movement and things like that, and definitely the ergonomic aspect of it, and using pressures. Make sure that you're not building up too much tension when you're doing any type of movement, repetitive movement. Because you know all this, but okay. So splatter painting, some white in here. It's giving me a backward splatter this time. Sometimes it goes out that way, and sometimes it goes like this. I don't know why. Well, one of the things I did do is I forgot to wash this off, and I just kind of, wiped a lot of it off with my with a paper towel. Maybe that's it. Um, the bristles are probably a little bit stiff or something, or maybe coated. Maybe they're not as flexible, I guess. All right, so that is that. So, okay, so I didn't get a lot of variation with the dots there, but I often do not. Let's go in with this, and let's see. I think I have a choice here. I can stamp this out. It's just this piece in white or the silver. I think the white is standing out kind of extreme. So I'm going to go with the silver, I think, here. I do think the white is needed, though, in here. Just for that little bit of extra contrast, because when you have silver at certain angles, if it's not capturing and reflecting light, it can look really dark. So I have a lot of, light on my work area here, my workspace. So it's really reflecting quite a lot. So the white, I just think, is a pretty integral value within this. All right, I know my head's in your way, but I got to get this one right. Because when you're stamping that metallic ink or pigment ink, just in general, could be any color, over this really reflective material, it's super non-porous, so it's easy to stamp this out and to move it slightly, and you get that skewed image. But you can just, wipe it off, but I don't feel like doing that if I don't have to, of course. So just be careful, get that, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not super precarious or anything like that, but you have to kind of get the little bit of a feel for it, because it's not absorbing, the surface isn't absorbing any ink or moisture at all, too, so it's staying right on the surface. Just make sure that when you set it down, you're doing it really definitively. Decent impression, pressure, but don't squeeze it, otherwise it's prone to squiggle again or skew, and then just lift directly off. Okay, just you can practice on a separate piece. I should really do that every time I do this, but I don't. And sometimes I do get that skew, which, it's not a really great thing. you know, Especially if it's in a mirror card, and you know what I mean? I have all these other components around and stuff like that, and it's like, I skewed the image. Like one of the images that are down in the foreground or something like that. It's like one of those few types of things in stamping. I almost never like wobble something on cardstock or anything like that, but I do get it on the foil. The larger Linda goes, the smaller it becomes. Did you see my comment? I was telling Linda she keeps going larger, and I just keep pondering. Okay, what would you know Linda do on a 11 by 17? Then when she goes 11 by 17 and seemingly gets that format and hang of it down like seemingly instantly. It's like I think it's like larger and larger. So I was telling her what we're going to want to see from her is okay, so adding in some larger stars like this. Okay, now one of those things with gel pens or something like a paint pen like this is that when you're putting this over foil especially, but on slick surfaces like this paint dried really fast on here. Okay, I don't have to worry about that, but as you add like little dots like this, you can, if you're going over like a little bit of paint or something like that, you can get some of that dried paint up into the tip here. So just be aware of that, and you might have to just do a little squiggle off with it, and you're good to go. Okay, so on these silver pieces like this, I thought a little bit of extra bling would look good on this. It looks a little bit busy for me, but maybe I added too many trees, but just in general, I think it looks okay. But for some matting and stuff like that for containment, I usually contain my images through the use of vignetting. So we don't have any of that here, so I think the matting of this I'll do a separate video again where I'll show you these pieces and how they look completely formatted, but I'll just have to depend on the matting for these ones. Okay, so a little bit of extra bling in the form of clear crystals. I'm hesitating there a little bit because maybe I should go with like a couple of colored crystals on here. Okay, so I don't know what barely art glue. I don't know, one of you guys told me to get that, and it's worked out fantastic. Okay, and I went way too big with some crystals on another piece recently, so I think I'm going to stick with some of these smaller pieces in here. There's a kind of a sweet spot size with these in here that I tend to be using a lot of a certain size just because they're a little bit larger to grab than the smallest ones. These smallest ones are like really super tiny, like that. And I don't have a problem using them, but it's the thing that I hate about it is kind of flipping them over right side up so I can grab them with the gem, whatever the jewel picker. All right, now let me see if my, this side right here, I got a bunch of dried glue on there. So that's not working out for me so well. Okay, let me see here. I can't even see the glue now. I can't tell the difference between some of these little white paint pen dots and the glue. Okay, that's it. Oh, this glue is a little bit transparent here. I need to hold it at a certain angle, and I think I could see the glue better. This the glue that I was using before wasn't wasn't terribly permanent, so I'd have a lot of these little crystal things falling off. But this Barely Art one really adheres nicely. Okay, I can't even see this the glue anymore. I'm gonna have to go with some new dots. I won't go with the. I won't go with 15 dots this time and try to track them down. Oops. Okay, so like way too much glue. I went overboard. I overcompensated. Okay, I just flipped all these over, but as I grabbed that one, it went pop, and then this is what drives me nuts about this size of crystal. They all popped, and of course they're all upside down now. One of you guys are probably watching this and saying, "Hey, that's not that's white paint. The dot, the glue is right to your left." Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if it's any that glue's three-dimensional. I need one more spot here. Okay, there we go. That was an old dot. All right, so it's a little bit of that bling in here. Okay, like so. And let's see, that'll be on some. I'm looking for. I don't know. It won't be on this, but something like that with a little bit of a white border, like this. Like a small white border around here like that. And then silver maybe. We need a little bit more contrast. It might be a triple matte on something like that. But again, kind of just a little fun thing. I mean, you can use this as an element for another, larger card too. But I don't know, that's my silver. White on, no wait, silver on white on black on silver like this. So a little bit too busy with the white stars in there. Okay, I gotta wait for some of this to dry. But the thing is, this needs to be spray sealed anyways. So one of the things I do after this dries, okay, I'll heat set or something like that. I'm gonna just go in here and clean up some of that, those extra stars in there. It's a little bit too patterned in there. I could put something else in here, like an eagle or birds or something like that over the top of it. But this little area right in here is a little bit too much. Not at certain angles, I think that looks okay, but yeah, it's a little bit busy in there. I got too fine a spray pattern with this. I should have washed this off. Okay, so that in mind, let's get to a next piece. Let's see here. Brilliant archival inks. Yeah. Those inks will dry on the that surface right here. Okay, now see, I used the Brilliance inks on this. StazOn does have that white pigment ink, okay, and that could have been used in place of that white one right there. And then there's other types of silver, so I think the silver would be kind of cool to emboss on here. You know, your most the element that's mostly in the foreground. Um, I think that would look kind of cool raised. So you could do that. You know what I mean? Like the word stamp or something like that in those trees, the silver ones. You can emboss it. So you don't, if you don't have like a brilliant silver, then just stamp in a, you know, whatever silver pigment ink and maybe clear emboss or something like that. And then there's those silver embossing powders. I don't know what the difference is between stamping in a like an embossing ink or something like that and embossing in silver embossing powder or just stamping it in silver and doing clear emboss. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me what the difference is between that would be. Okay, so here's another thing that I pulled out here. I just don't remember using this. I think it's a Star Dream silver. I mean, not silver, but this. I don't know what you call this. It's that purplish toned surface like that. I don't know. The plum. I don't know. Something like that, right? The down is coming out of my vest here. Okay, so on something like this, we're either going to have to stamp over the top of this in white and or use white in the background so that whatever we stamp in a darker tone will stand out. But let's go with something really simple on this. Let's go with let's try the Lakeside Cove in here. Or I can do the covered bridge too. Something like that. Maybe this one's a little bit too large for this. I guess it'd be okay. We get a little bit more of a statement with the Lakeside Cove in here. All right, so here's my question on this one. If I add down some of that white pigment ink in the background, like a little cloud or something like that, with all these different types of surface, I'm never quite sure like how this is going to stamp out over the top of white. Okay, let's just see how it goes. I like I said, I don't remember doing a lot of these combinations before. On similar things for sure, but I just don't know. Like on this one, I'm just not quite sure how it's going to, how much contrast is going to be needed for that image to show up at, like, say, if I stamp it in black, because this is darker, okay? Sometimes I'm doing it like on a, you know, like that lighter blue Star Dream or something like that. It's just been too long, you know. It's probably, you know, it might be a month since I've used it. No, I'm just joking. It's been, I don't remember using this before, this purplish tinge one. Or when I used it last. It's been a little time, I think. I might have just matted something in it. I'm not quite sure. Glad you like it, Nicole, Debbie. Those make for, you know, fun little cards. I think like the 2x2 version of this, and if you do it like in this format, maybe I should have done it in this format and had piece going across like that. But a smaller version of this would make great little ornaments or something like that. Or I don't know, just that more diamond shape for a card. You know what I mean? You have that diamond shape on here. Maybe I'll do some diamond shape right here. Now I think about it. Let's do that. And then you have, you know, you have your card like that. You mount this in something, then have your card out here, you know, fold it over or whatever. Let's do that. Let's have some fun with this. Okay, so okay, I have to think in reverse here. So the cabin is going to go over here, and I need this to be somewhat visible. So let's go with a little bit of like a cloudy haze going this way and down here. So it's this little cloudy formation will be a little bit higher right here, and then it can go, you know, roughly like this. I usually don't want it just like straight across like that. Is Harold still watching? Harold, are you still stamping at all? Harold did some cool Stampscapes pieces. Linda did, of course, too, but you know what I mean? There's not a lot of guys that stamp, you know, in terms of like percentages. All right, this is going on easier when I just kind of wiggle it around like this, I'm finding on this paper. Sometimes it doesn't, you know, some papers don't let you do this as much because they're more absorbent, okay? So that's my overall cloud, right? But we want this cloud to look a little bit more three-dimensional, so let's build up some tones like this. That's good. All right, so I take it to Linda watching. Linda, I watched, I looked up online, I don't know, not too long ago to check out that Glen Cove Motel. Was that the name of it? Maine is so awesome. I say that all the time. But, okay, so when I was teaching at Penn Ventures, um, uh, I know, Linda, you probably gave me the name of that motel there, but this little motel was so cool. I don't know, there was like 14 units or something like that. But they have yeah, they have their own little pathway that goes down, you know, I don't know how long far it was, 200 yards, 300 yards or something like that through like this little grassy area and underneath these trees down to right next to the water, you know. And it's I don't know, whatever. It's like just for this little motel. It was so cool. I think the second time I was there, that I don't remember if that trail, I don't know, they were doing something to it. Okay, this is okay. So this plum here, this paper picked up a little bit of that color off of that surface right there, which I find with foils. But I think that's the first time I've found that happen with the kind of the more iridescent type of surface right here. Look at that little surface like that has a little bit of bluish tinge to it, you know, and that reflective. And so what's always fun about those reflectives is that you get these different colors kind of showing up in there. Um, I don't know, maybe unexpectedly sometime. All right, just heat setting a little bit. This type of ink on here, it should dry just fine without any type of heat setting, but I just want to get it heat set a little bit to hopefully accept, in theory, the impression a little bit better than not heat setting. Okay. Um. Okay. Now here's the thing that's coming to my mind here is I'm wondering. Um, what ink I should use for the impression here. Should it be the StazOn? Or I don't think, okay, so I'm ruling out the dye-based ink. I think the StazOn would work just fine on here for a really good impression. And the the brilliance black I think would be fine on here too. Let's try the StazOn. I don't know if I've done the StazOn on top of brilliance ink before. I don't know if it's going to pull it off, you know what I mean? Like remove the brilliance off of it as opposed to transferring into that. But here's what I want to do. I want to do some things over the top of this during this live stream, you know what I mean? So I want this to dry fairly quickly. Little cabins. Are you talking about that little motel there? Yeah, they were like little cabins there. Okay, so I need to clean off my my acrylic blocks, my tack and peel. They're becoming a little bit less see-through, so I can't see through there. It normally wouldn't come into play, but I'm stamping this in like this diamond shape here, so. Memento Lux. I don't know about Memento Lux. What is the Lux aspect of that? Is that a different? That's not Memento Lux. Is that a dye-based ink? Okay, that stamped out pretty decent right there. It's a little bit textured. Yeah, let me see, like that. I don't really expect my impressions to look black. I hope they are. Maybe I do expect it. But I stamped over white with the Brilliance ink yesterday, like a big field of white, okay? And it stamped out roughly, I'd say they're stamping out like an 85% gray, okay, as opposed to black. Let's do a little comparison here. Just because I have this right here, but okay, so this is the Brilliance Black on this crazy holographic. The Brilliance Black stamped out a little bit darker, didn't it, than the StazOn here. So remember, the StazOn is a thinner ink, and this is the Brilliance Black on top of Brilliance White, on top of the holographic printable vinyl. I'd say the Brilliance Black looks darker. So maybe that's a good way to go, is the Brilliance Black. Just for the darker impressions, maybe, on here. Okay, so, but the thing is, though, if this was done in the Brilliance Black, what I want to do with this now, I'd have to wait for it to dry a little bit, or heat set, and sometimes, you got to really stay on there a little bit longer, and as opposed to letting it air dry and just doing it later. But we're in a live stream now, so I want to do this right now. So it's just, you know what I mean? It's set to go right now, okay? All right, so what I want to do on this, and what I knew I'd have to do on this, just to make this little cabin stand out a little bit stronger, was we want a little bit more lighting on top of that rooftop right there, just to stand out a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, let me not tear up this whole piece right here. Just grab a couple of pieces that were already in my trash can here. Let me just get this right here. And what you do is you just go, I'll zoom in as far as I can here, but what you do is you just go, you don't need to mask off all 4 points of some type of surface. Usually it's a rooftop, okay, cabins or anything like that. And just do 2 areas like that. Now, there's not a lot of space here. That's, so I'm going to be careful about that, or try to be. But if you want something to be a little bit lighter, transition it more. Okay, so have it a little bit lighter up top and a little bit darker down below, and that looks better anyway. Okay, so it's easy masking. It's an easy masking assignment. If you want to use a Q-tip or something like that that's smaller, that would be fine too. Let me see here. Lux Is Lux different Memento Lux, but don't really know what to do. I haven't used it, but read today. It's for fabric also. Deanna, is it a pigment ink? Hello, Jeannie. Yeah, I don't know anything about Lux. I think that's a hello, Donna. I think that's a pad that I've never even heard of. And I take it Memento. Is that Tsukaneko? Okay. I just re-inked this, so I'm getting this really frayed surface right here. Okay, so let me go from this angle like this. So I'm just kind of hitting it right here. And it's, you know what I mean? It's not going to be like perfectly light all the way down. But see, then you get that little bit of a transitioning thing. I don't know. It goes down to the bottom part of it. If it was a little bit larger, you'd be able to see it. And then we're going to bring out that lighting in the interior there with the paint pen. So you get a little bit of variation like that, but it just makes the cabin stand out a little bit stronger. And that it's going to dry darker than that too, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's see, down here, let's go with, let's add a little bit of a foreground down here as well. I don't want my foreground to be terribly light in value, so I'll have it about that value of darkness. And then Deanne, I was thinking I need to start using some of those hybrid inks again. I really want to work with that kind of real. To me, it feels like I'm working with I don't know, like something like an oil pastel or something like that. You know, working with these thick in viscosity inks or something like that. Lux is a pigment ink. Okay, huh. Is it just a normal pigment ink or is it a different, like, specialized one? Is that just their name for their pigment ink line? Yeah, what is the Tsukaneko pigment inks? I know the Brilliance ones have that little bit of shimmer to it. They dry, but I'm sure that they probably, is that just the name for their just their straight oil-based pigment inks or something like that? But okay, but speaking of that, I mean, if it's just a standard pigment ink, I think it would have worked. This paper here, though, the iridescence, regular pigment inks, some of them do dry in there, but I find that like a Stardream gold paper, it's more sealed off than like the lapis lazuli. And that was something that really surprised me. I just figured all of the the Stardream papers are going to be the same in terms of their surface quality, the amount of the porous quality of them. I assumed it was going to be the same, but they're not. Just like the Brilliance inks in whatever regular colors, I don't know, whatever call it, but they're like these. This is different from this one viscosity wise, and these two are both very different from the gold especially. I mean, these are similar, but the gold one is like really different. Okay, so a little bit of that romp down here, and just to bring in a little bit of that foreground into the mix. Is this too small of a scene to put on a little bit of a tree like this? Let's go ahead and do it just for kicks, okay? I normally would just use the reeds down there, but I just want to see kind of larger elements in this really small piece right here. I don't know what the size this is. I just realized this isn't a square. So we're stamping it at an angle like that. Hey, Jeannie, you might like this one. I'm stamping it at I've got these angles working in this one. Although you're not going like diamond like this, but you have no problem kind of utilizing angles on your pieces. Maybe I'll cut this one. I'll probably cut this one off a little bit on this side to make it more of a diamond like that. Or I don't know, maybe you have it a little bit, maybe I do have it a little bit skewed and I just mount it on top. I was thinking about this one's going to get mounted on a card like this, Or you can go this way too and, have your text or something like that out that way. That's working with scraps there. But, I would think visually I didn't notice that this is longer than this one right here, so I don't know. I've been looking at too many holographic cardstocks lately. I've lost my sense of depth and everything like that. I used that holographic cardstock, and someone commented that they have, what did they say? I don't know if they're watching right now, but they said that. I think it was like it made them dizzy or something like that working with it. So they're just using it for other purposes other than stamping on directly. Maybe they were matting with it or something like that. But there's something to be said for that, because it's like when you're looking at that holographic cardstock like this, it's not only reflecting back at your face, but I think that you're constantly, I don't know, there's like this depth to it. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like the surface that you're just staring at or something like that. So you're just constantly like, I know what they meant about it. It's almost like you get a little bit of a sense of motion in some ways. But it was interesting reading that about someone. It just made them too dizzy. I was kind of joking that we should put this little notice on those things that if someone has if they can get those seizures or something like that from like flashing lights, just kind of be careful about that. All right, so just using a little bit of a tip right there. Like that, okay. So I had that little bit of a scene like that. Isn't that fun? I thought I wanted to go into some of these smaller pieces and not spend too much time on them. And I wanted to go into some really small pieces, but I really don't want to go with like an inchy, you know what I mean? That's a little bit too restrictive. They're fun to do. If I was doing, if I'm going to do an inchy video, I'll do that specifically or something, but I didn't really feel like doing that here or tonight. All right, when's the last time any one of you did an inchy? Has anyone done an inchy like in the last year? Or has anyone like never done an inchy? Does anyone know what not know what an inchy is? An inchy, those became kind of popular. I don't remember when they became popular, but I don't know how many people were doing it. It's not like I saw a bunch of like inchy like examples everywhere, but they're a 1 inch by 1 inch, project or something like that. So, okay. All right, now that I know that this isn't a square, I'm thinking, do I stamp this up here or not? This is piece. I kind of want to get a word in here, a word stamp in here. I'm not sure though. Let's see. bring in, let's bring in that little bit of lighting into here. Okay, so paint pen again. If I didn't say it, hello, Cheryl. Janet. Janet's never done an inch. It's time. Okay. So, Linda, after doing all those big, gigantic 11 by 17s, it's kind of, you know what I mean? After you're recovered with your arm and shoulder and hand and everything like that, maybe you got to do some inchies, you know what I mean? Uh, the inchies will be your like rehab exercise, doing like tiny pieces, you know? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Cindy. I was going to say, has anyone done an inchie like in this last year? Yeah. That's about the time frame, huh, Nicole? It was about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, or even like 15, huh? Yeah, Deanna, it was the 1 by 1 inch ones. That's the only thing I've done an inchie on is are the the stamp boards. Um, but because they were already just in inch formats, so very convenient for that. Okay. Excuse me. This is my pen that's not flowing real well. Let me see. I have 2 white paint pens. Where'd my white paint pen go? I marked it up. No, this is the one that's working. Let me see. I think it clogged up with that. Okay, here it goes. Yeah, it had a little bit of that, probably some of that Dr. Martens in it. So you gotta kind of scribble it around a little bit. All right, this plum paper is a fairly, you know, uh, dark paper to begin with this light reflecting on it. Um, a little bit less so, but without all this glare like that, it's that dark. So what is that? That's like a 70%, gray or something like that. So this white really stands out on there. If you want to if you have like a set of these, multicolored pens or something like that, you can use colors out of your color scheme to add in these a little bit more subdued highlights in there. Yeah, I should do an inchy one of these days. I don't know. I get on an inchy, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to do like tons of little details. I mean, you can do. I think this has been used on an inchy before. This cabin from the Lakeside Cabin, I've seen that done. But yeah, Linda, that would be a real challenge for you. You've probably done inchies before, though, right? But just not maybe you haven't done scenes. But you being a teacher, I don't know. Did you guys teach inchy classes like that? Yeah, I'm with you, CM Hawkins. That extra inch, that makes a huge difference in there. Like on an inchy, like you probably couldn't even do you can't do like a word stamp on an inchy either, right? One of the things I found that was kind of fun with the inchies, though, in terms of going back to stamp board, is if you put like 3 by 3 of them together like this, and you kind of, I don't know what you had to do. You had to kind of tape them down or something like that. Or if you just had a large stamp like this, and you had those inchy tiles, what you do is you'd flip them over. You ink this up like this, and then you take tile to stamp and you put it there, and just leave it. And then you take the next tile and you stamp it here. And then you take the next one and go down here and here. Maybe there's 4 across like this, okay? And then you flip those all over, and then you can kind of color it in or whatever. Or might have pre-colored them a little bit. And on those tiles, you can do your scratch, you can scratch the highlights back into it or something like that. And then you take those ones and you display them, these 4 across raised from a surface like that. That was my favorite some of my favorite applications of the inchies, or what they call it spotlighting, where you have like a scene like this, maybe on a regular 4.25 by 5.5, but maybe you stamp that out like that, but then on a tile you stamp out that cabin or something like that, and then you put that on top so it's raised up. And I think they call that spotlighting, when you have those little elements kind of picked out like that. I didn't do that too much. I think I did that. I probably did it like once or twice. Okay, so here's adding in some highlights using some of this, whatever, pale violet, I guess. So it's a little bit lighter than the paper. It's not lighter than where it's some of that white that I've laid down there. And again, sorry, I can't zoom in a little bit closer like that. But I've added in some of that pink in there here, or violet. And I'm going to add in a couple little stars in here like this so that they're somewhat integrated in with the color scheme. I'll put some little down here. I don't know if you can see that at all. Okay. Like that. You can't see it with any glare on it. All right. And then, let's see. Let's bring a little bit of the this lighting into these rocks, okay? This rock right here, my ledge goes across in here, but the white is all down here. So don't put the highlights up into this area because it's just too dark of an area. So at least with a white pen. So you could bring a little bit of that lighting down here, and then, I mean, there's not a lot of light in this scene. I mean, we could put a moon here or something like that, but maybe we will. Maybe instead of like a word stamp, we can put a little bit of a moon there. Okay, this is where I'm going like crazy with those little details. I wanted these little scenes to be like really fast, but I still get caught up on all the details because I really like doing those, adding those little types of things. It's like a little micro, scene right here. But I tend to want it, really complete with all the little fun little elements that I put in larger pieces, even in these really small formats like this. So, okay, so I added in this right here. I'm going to put in a little bit of a moon right here. So, let's see. I'm going to do it with, I'm just going to do it with a hole punch. If I have a hole punch. I had a hole punch somewhere here. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So this is here, this is my my cabin lighting tool, right? You mask it off like that. And then it's also your moon making tool. All right. Now, I thought about stamping out one of my moons, but I think I would just want this to be really pale here. I don't want it too overpowering here, so I'm just going to put it, let's put it right here, like so. Ooh, maybe that is going to be light. I can always kind of wipe some of it off like that, though. All right, let's go like that. And then this lighting coming off the trees kind of makes more sense, right? All right, so we have that little area up there, that moon's up there. Let's get a little bit more kind of atmosphere up here. I need to be careful that I don't go right across that moon, otherwise it's going to completely smear it. So go like this. I'm not used to working with these angles here, Jeannie. All right. So there's a little bit of that cloud. And let's go ahead and frame this off a little bit. On this one, we can do that. I guess we could have done that on this one, or I still can. I guess I can put a little bit of a vignette around this one. That might be dry enough, too, from where I can go in and kind of clean that up around the edge. All right, so let's just go back in with this black again. Okay. I'm smashing down my cotton ball if you don't know what I'm doing here, because it gets really frayed like that, right? And then you just smash it down so that you're working with a flat surface like this, okay? And let's just add in a little bit of a framing vignette around on the perimeter to hopefully contain the scene and give it a little bit more of a kind of a stronger cohesion, maybe. This purple's pretty cool. Like I said, I don't remember what color it is. I'm I buy this stuff. I used to buy a lot of it at Kelly Paper. Um, this is one that I would probably buy. I don't know if I bought it there. It could have been on Amazon or something like that too. But a lot of times they would have these kind of funky colors like this, and they would have it on their clearance table, just because it was sitting on the shelf for a year. So they had a 12-month cutoff, and I used to get papers for, I don't know what it was. It was like 70% off, I think. So I might be able to pick up a pack of whatever it was, 10 sheets or something like that, for really cheap, and it was great. But then I don't know. They've been having these paper shortages, and paper's going up so much. I haven't bought like clearance stuff in there. I don't go in there too often, but their clearance prices, I think, on some papers were like full price, if not more than full price, back when. So it's probably still a decent deal as in terms of, buying something at full price, but just I know what I know though, from like the past 30 years of going in there, so it's just kind of shocking how much paper is, and if you can even find it these days. There's a lot of shortages out there that are going on. Okay, so anyways, here's this little piece right here. And again, I don't see this as like the finished piece. We need to format it into a card and have that as like a nice little element for a card. But I think we've achieved, a pretty decent amount of depth in here. Okay, so I think this worked out here too. I hadn't even thought about it, but that was stamped out in the StazOn, right? So it's like a 85, 90% gray. But these foreground elements down here, I stamped it out in the Brilliance Black, so a much thicker ink. And I think that worked out because that looks more distant because it's lighter, right? So, that just, I had preferred that stamp out darker, but I think it's worked out here really nicely, having it lighter like that. I know, I think it adds to it a lot by having that in a lighter value than the foreground elements like that. I think that there's a lot more depth in here. So here again, here's the iridescent aspect of this card, and I mean it's not as extreme as like a foil or the holographics or something like that, but these iridescent papers are pretty fun to work on. The Star Dreams, Pearl X, I think they're called, or something like that. Just in terms of that amount of reflective lighting that you can have coming off of it, and they reflect very different than, say, like a really super shiny, glary type of thing. So there's that right there, that degree of reflection on a bare piece of paper, as opposed to this right here. You know what I mean? So it's just a little bit different. One's a little bit more mellow. All right, so a couple scraps down like that so far. Let's get a couple more of these in. I haven't worked on a piece of blue in a while. Here's the lapis lazuli. But here's just like a piece of like, I don't know if I should even do this one. This is all like funky on the edge like this, but it's just a piece of, it's almost like construction paper or something like that from like a, I don't know, like a school supplies or something like that. Well, let's just do something out of this. I might leave this kind of scrappier edge on. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll look good. I was thinking one of these days I need to tear the edges, to give it something that's more of that torn look, and go with that. I want to go with burnt edges too. I haven't seen that since those soot cards that people used to do. Has anyone done a soot card? I brought this up in the past. I don't know if people were doing that, but let me see. I'm scrolling back up. I missed some of the things that people were saying here. For Nicole, inchies can be addictive. I tell you, people got those, got into those in a big way at that time. It was like the same thing with dominoes. Dominoes were one of those big things. Pins, ATCs. I mean, inchies weren't as big as like ATCs. I mean, people are still doing ATCs like that. I don't see, like, no one's doing dominoes anymore, are they? I don't see that being done anymore. Genie needs to go big. Well, maybe just have a bunch of inchies, Genie. Do like an 11 by 17 Genie, and then cut it down at inchies, and then have that display your whole scene with like a tiny little border around each of those pieces and glue them down. It'd be like a mosaic, right? Maybe we only do that with like a 4 by 6 or something like that. So you could do that too. You can just do like a regular card and finish it off, or like this right here. And then you cut it down into your inchies and then put that, little space in there so, you have white in the background or whatever color. So it looks like grout in between stuff. It'd be kind of interesting to do that, to spread them out or something like that, or cut them down. And then if you added like a super thick, like polyurethane over the top of it, so it looked like tiles, so it looked like this grout or something like that. Or you can do that really thick, I don't know what it was, not enamel, but that thing that people were using, some not diamond glazed. That's the Judykins thing, right? It's real thin. But there was this thing that used to pour onto things, and it made them real kind of dimensional. So you can have like these little tiles, and then it looked like this kind of ceramic project, I think, or something like that would be kind of interesting. Okay, yeah, Nicole, you taught Inchi classes after the ATC. The power of one word is amazing. Ocean scene in 4 Inchi squares. It was on the cover of a magazine. Yeah, that's cool. What magazine was that, Cindy? I also use the tiles for faux Delft China tile panels. What? Okay, that's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That would be really cool to do right there. I don't know. Maybe it might be time for a Inchi resurrection. Inchi, whatever. Second wave, right? Yeah, that little moon in there worked out, Linda. Is that a half in his moon? How much I pay for paper, sheesh. You do pay the price up there, Linda. I thought about, when I was thinking about pieces before, I was thinking, man, I need to ship some stuff to Linda, but I was thinking, okay, this is going to be like this gigantic piece of paper, and I thought, you know what? I'd have to have that so reinforced. By the time it got to you, I think it would be destroyed. You know what I mean? Because it'd be like in this. I thought it would have to be shipped in a box, but in like an envelope would be much more, much easier to do like that. Hello, Froggy Fresh. I saw your paper bag piece. Very cool. Let's see. Uh-oh, Froggy Fresh has a cold. Get over that quickly. Take your vitamin C and everything like that. You and Linda, keep hydrated. Okay, okay, Linda has done a lot of the soot cards, yeah. So everyone, do you know what soot cards are? I got to get started here on this one right here, but I don't know, Linda. I don't know if you can, if you're not, if typing's okay with you, you can kind of explain what. Yeah, the resin. Thanks, C.M. Hawkins. Um, Glossy accents. Was that coating? There was like a specific thing. I saw it. I don't know. It was like years ago. I'm sure there were different brands, but the one that I saw were at like Stampa Barbara, and that was like 30 years ago. You know what? I have that kit somewhere now that I think about it. Because I never used it. I was just looking behind me to see if I have it right on my shelf somewhere. Most of my stuff is like right behind me, that I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to do a snowy covered bridge scene. And I'm going to do some blocking out here on this paper. So any type of colored paper is great with this. Now I'm using the Brilliance ink here, but I think you can use any white ink when it comes to this type of application, because this is like a non-coated, I don't know if it's construction paper, something that raw, but I don't know. It feels pretty. It feels pretty. I don't know. Whatever. Basic. I don't want to say cheap, but yeah, those soot cards or something like that. I think they used to like burn them on the edge. Just to get them a little bit more rustic looking like that. But okay, so all right. Linda didn't. I'll explain the soot card. So you take like an oil lamp or something like that, something that's going to leave a soot residue on a card. I don't know if it had. I think it had to be glossy cardstock, right? And then you get all that ash, like that residue on your card. You don't want to burn it, right? But it's you get that wick. It's burning, and you see this like black kind of smoky kind of thing coming off. Or someone now that I admit we've talked about this before on a live stream. I think someone said that you can also use candles. I don't know, maybe Linda said that. But I was shown that I think using like an oil lamp, like an old-fashioned oil lamp, and it left all that sooty residue on there. And then you go in with a clean stamp and you stamp into it, and then you lift off for a reverse impression into that, I don't know, whatever it is. It's not ash or whatever that residue is. And to me, it was such a cool look, and it looked real antique looking, which was really cool. And then I think that for the display, having like a nice crisp edge like that didn't look really right, so they kind of burnt off, some of the edges, like physically burnt it. Didn't even just put it out right away. So the edges were kind of irregular, and that had that burnt look to it. I love that look. I mean, that's the type of thing that I was kind of going for, adding black ink onto, like foils and stuff like that, and then doing that reverse impression back into it. It's not quite a soot card, but it was kind of reminiscent a little bit of that type of look. That would be a really interesting piece if you had like scraps that could take. I never saw that soot done on like a piece of foil like that. I guess you can reverse into it, but then you'd have to really spray seal. I think you had to spray seal that soot anyway. I don't know. Did you have to spray seal those soot cards, Linda, when you were done? You had to, right? I mean, it didn't over time get affixed to the surface. You had to spray seal them, right? Did you and if you did, was it worth a workable fixative or just any type of like Krylon or something like that. Oh, for Halloween cards, that would have been awesome. Yeah. And where could you do anything else on those soot cards? I guess maybe after you seal them off, you can add in some additional things, right? But you couldn't do anything else on there, because the soot's, would get lifted off. So I guess you got to spray seal, and then if you're going to put something in there, you spray seal, then add it, any type of additive process. I put the soot from a candle smoke over the alcohol ink, then pressed from candle smoke over the stamp image into it. Sealant is required. Got it. I use glossy accents to make it look like water in a mug or on glasses. That's cool. You're heavy-handed with the textured paste on your paper bag. I need to take a look at that again. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I remember seeing that paste on there. Okay. So that was too much for you then, huh? Okay, so anyways, here's this little cloudy thing going on in the background. I can't always do this type of touch right here. Like if I'm adding to like foil. If I'm doing this on foil, I'm just gonna be wiping it off like immediately after like applying it. You're gonna apply it like that, then you go over it like that again, it'll wipe off. So you can see the texture on here, a little bit of the paper showing to the grain of the paper. So, when I stamp up my imagery over the top of this, that grainy effect is just going to have to be, part of the look of the piece right here. But definitely a true piece of scrap. It's all, I don't even know if this is square. I guess it looks rectangular. I'm kind of wondering what I used it for, that it would have such that jagged edge up there. Okay, so let's do that in the Brilliance ink again. That gave me a really nice thick application of media on that last one. I'll do some impressions maybe in both black and white on here, if I can. Oil lamp or plumber's candle? I love that idea of the plumber's candle. Hairspray. That's the thing that I always found that we were using at stores. Hairspray. We didn't always, places weren't always spraying, sealing, but sometimes I'd be at a class and she'd have some hairspray, or the store owner, and we'd be going out, like in front of the store and like spray sealing a bunch of the pieces, because I was always working with glossy cardstock back then, and it just makes the pieces look so much better once you spray seal it. Okay, let's add in some more of the snow pattern here. All right. So can you see that? Less contrast on this type of thing. If you haven't worked on colored papers, it's really fun to do. Oh, I forgot. I brought these. I do have these little amethyst crystals I already added the moon in here, though. I think the amethyst crystals would look kind of weird in this one. Oh, but I was thinking too, like a different colored crystal, you know, you can choose like one color, something like blue or something like that to add up there. That might be kind of interesting. All right, so that is that. Let me go in and add in. Okay, let's change the contrast. Let's bump up the contrast on certain things in here a little bit more. Now that you know, I can see where the imagery goes in here now. Let's see. I can go with a piece of paper, or maybe I shouldn't use this green one. I'm going to be picking up that green with the water-based brilliance ink there. I don't know, maybe the green would look good in there. Maybe not, though. Let's not take a chance here. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of tonal variations in here, you know, with the changing terrain and whatnot. So let's go with that. So this will be my soft application of this, but then we'll also use the paint pens, you know, to create a little bit more variation. Okay. Now I'm adding this in. I plan on using other imagery on here, but I want to get this background kind of established for whatever imagery that's used over the top of it, be it white or black. Okay. I don't know if the white will show up on here or not. We'll see. Okay. I should actually cut something out of this. All right, this is my like one time that I've done a trimmed matte. I'm not going to like measure it or anything like that, but I just want to get some curves in here like so. Like that. All right, so just getting that little line right there. And then let's go for that rooftop. Okay, this rooftop isn't like quite squared in terms of the angles, so, but I think I can, I'll go like this. Let me see, I don't want that serrated part of the paper towel. Here, let me use this. Let me use a piece of, well, I'll go with this one right here. Let's see, that's like this, actually. Okay, so again, just two angles like that for your rooftops. I mean, you can go with 3 if you want to, but you don't need to be cutting anything out. All right, let's go a little bit more. I'm gonna use this paper. I think it's going, my white is going through that paper towel a little bit. All right, I was doing it very gingerly there, but I just went with a much bolder application of it. See, so it's transitions like that. But see, it's better than having it all 4 and having it equally kind of applied in there. It just becomes too extreme. Okay, I like in visual lead-ins to have these areas kind of illuminated a little bit more, kind of like follow the yellow brick road type of thing, except this one's more of a silvery looking one. So just kind of have it a little bit lighter like so, I think. And that just kind of invites your viewer of your scene into the scene a little bit more, okay? So let's see, where did my curving piece go? Was it this paper towel? Okay, it was the paper towel that I used for that. Let's go like that, right there. And go like this. All right, so you get that road right there, right? And we can use a little bit more variation down here, I think. What is that now, Jeannie? Oh, Linda. You don't see Linda with flames in her basement. I love lapis lazuli too. I think I'm low on my lapis lazuli, and I just did order some more of my that silver um, mirrored foil, the silver that I was saying that I was out of. I just ordered some more of that. I gotta have that for those mirror cards, especially. Oh, and another thing that I just ordered today, I think it was today or it might have been yesterday. I ordered this paper, this holographic cardstock. If you order the gold, it comes with like four or something like that different colors, including this kind of pinkish one. But I ordered the blue version of this. It's like, and it has like four different blues in there. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to using that or trying it out because, like in scenic stamping, I mean, we use a lot of blues. You know what I mean? More than we're using, a pink, paper to stamp on. Blues are, fairly common for, our winter scenes or something like that. So I've been really having fun using the gold and the red one that I just used last night, and I just ordered that blue one, so we'll see how that blue one goes. All right, so adding this in the background, that was a little bit too light like that, but okay, so I'm just adding in the white here, so we haven't done anything with the black yet, so let's do that. And then getting all this down like this, then adding in the imagery right over the top of it. Most of the different types of tones and everything like that, and the values are already going to be established, so it makes for a pretty easy piece. You know what I mean? We're just taking a little bit more time with the, the background. Let me do something like this too. Since I did that, I have a little bit of practice from this last week on my wisps. Let's see if I can get some of that. I did that on the Star Dream though, but I think we can do it on this too. Here, let me see. Kind of adds in that little bit of a windy kind of background element in there like that. I don't know, I won't go too extreme, but I don't have too much space to work with it here. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's better than like nothing in the background in that sky area. Okay, let's go back to the black here. I love the mirror cards, Travel Dreamer. I get addicted to those. It's like if I don't do one for, I don't know, even a little bit of time, when I do it, it's just when you marry that top and the bottom together, and you can see that reflection in there, and that whatever they call it, parallax, that movement in there, it's just so dynamic. One of the the coolest things I heard in regards to mirror cards. Okay, so I have a customer that does. She makes cards and she goes and sells them. Okay, and we did some cards, mirror cards like that, in a class. I mean, you don't need to take the mirror card, but she made some mirror cards for her products, okay? And she said that the mirror cards recently, when she had one of those sales, wherever she sells them, she said that people were buying multiple cards, like all the different versions of the mirror cards, because they wanted to see what they did. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, you know what I mean? How you get like it's almost like, they're almost like pop-up cards or something like that in a way. Where they're doing something, except they're really not, nothing's moving in them, but, you know what I mean? But it has that illusion, So, I don't know, people wanted like all of her mirror cards, like the different ones that she did. I thought that was one of the coolest things I've heard in regards to that. I love that notion of that. But yeah, she emailed me and mentioned that to me. She says, yeah, they, because they wanted to see what, and then she put in quotes, I think, they did. All right, this is too big of a block. Let me see. I need a smaller. Where'd my smaller block go? Yeah, let's just use this one. All right, I'm going to stamp this in white, I think, over that background. I hope this stamps out on here. We saw what the black looked like, a little bit more grayish and kind of muted. So I'm kind of hoping for that with this this white, that it would be a little bit more muted and not so bright. Okay, yeah, and it does. It looks a little bit more muted. I don't want it, and I don't want those those trees to stand out like so much against the background. Okay. All right, let's do a little bit of masking here. I want this behind this bridge. I think this is going to stamp out right there. Let me see. All right, this is the most masking I've ever done, I think, in my life here. In terms of like cutting stuff out. Okay, so I'm overlapping that first tree a little bit and stamping it a little bit lower, hoping it looks a little bit closer to us. Okay. Like that, and then... Hey, look at that, I can use my mask again. Because I did spend a lot of time on that mask, so it's good that if you can use it again. I did re-ink this tree just now, didn't I? Yeah. All right, so building that up like so, and then hope you're feeling better, Froggy Fresh. Get rid of that cold. These colds these days can be really nasty. And long-lasting, too, can't they? I had a cold, I don't know, not too many years ago, but man, it really knocked me out. It knocked me out like a flu would. It wasn't COVID, this is like pre-COVID. At a retreat, I shared a portion of your video. After lunch, there was a line to see your work or grab the link. That's cool, Travel Dreamer. Thanks for sharing that. The techniques and vids. I hope no one here thinks that doing those mirror cards are hard either. Because all it is just doing whatever thing you want up top, and then the bottom portion is just a piece of foil, you know, usually with a few images just stamped in black. There's not any kind of application techniques. So. Like I said, I just did this one, you know, a few days ago. That's the card that I had, which I wasn't really too happy with. But then when I added that mirror card down below, this mirror card is just, you know, a few images stamped in black, and then I stamped that in white right there. But I just felt that this really saved this piece, you know. This image right here. This is where I had to use the gold because I was out of the silver. But I think the gold worked out pretty good. But it's just such a easy kind of addition to a composition, you know, to add that mirrored portion down below. And I think it's so much, it adds so much. It's not just like doubling your scene. It's like, it adds movement, I guess. And certainly that three-dimensional aspect to it. And you do, I mean, you get kind of double your, I don't know, not money's worth, but you get your time expenditure, having that, whatever you've done, whatever you've spent, time you've spent on that upper portion gets reflected in that lower portion in a super interesting way. And your sales go through the roof if you're selling them. But I love that that people wanted to see what they did. So I guess she probably had him, you know, she probably had one out or something like that, and then you know, the rest of them were like in packs, or you know what I mean, and probably envelopes or something like that. So they wanted to buy them because they wanted to, you know, do that thing with it. You know, open it up and see what they did. All right, so adding in white. I haven't done this one in a while where, you know, the imagery is all in white like that. Oh, do I want to add in some silver on this, or should we just use it? Yeah, maybe no silver. The silver would be kind of interesting here, but I think we'd have to add in a few more silvery kind of elements in there to make it a little bit more, whatever, balanced. But let's go with this little twig here. These little elements like that can sometimes make a pretty big difference from a textural standpoint. All right. And, okay, here is this little rocky texture, okay? We're going to stamp it out in black here. So we're putting this right over the top of that white. Okay. Like that, but then for a textural element like that, I'll use this paper towel for one more purpose here to clean off the stamp. Okay, so on something like this, sometimes I forget which side's up and down. There is an up and down, but if you use it right side up or upside down, it really doesn't matter too much. But, okay, so you add that white texture back into there too. So you get this kind of balanced, I don't know, whatever usage of it. It's kind of that yin-yang type of thing in there. And again, that's going to The black is going to look lighter and the white is going to look darker because, you know, as these inks dry, it gets a little bit more, it moves towards transparency. So if we're doing it over that colored paper, you know, that colored paper is going to be showing through a little bit more. Okay, so let's see here. Look at this. We're going to add this back in here too, okay? We spent so much time making that moon there. Right. Let's throw that up in the sky too. I'm going to make it a little bit muted, I think. And I'll do the lighting accordingly. Maybe that's a little bit too muted. Yeah, it's like way too muted. So here's my thing. Now I'm going over this like this, I'm probably going to go like way too much, you know? So it's like not enough, then it's like the next application is way too much. Okay, that's okay. All right, so the reason why I'm putting that in here is because if I put highlights on certain things, it wouldn't make sense to have that degree, that amount of highlighting without, you know, a light source that's casting that degree of lighting in here. And I want to have some extra contrast in here, so that's where that comes into play. Okay, so on the sides of the trees, facing that light. So the trees to the right of it are being left side illuminated. Okay, and this gives me an excuse to put these extra little details into those elements like that. Okay. And maybe the farther it gets away from the tree, or the light source, those trees are being illuminated less, okay? So I don't know if you can see that. Well, you can see that, I guess, right there. These trees down here are in the foreground, but they still can be reiterating that directional lighting, or, you know, the whatever direction. Doesn't mean you can't have some on the other side of the tree too, but just to kind of really give a strong kind of indication of where that lighting is coming from. Maybe have a few more highlights on the sides of those trees that are on the side of that lighting right there. This one's like right below it, huh? So I'll put a little bit over both sides, and then these trees on the left side are being right side illuminated, or predominantly illuminated on that side. All right, and let's see, let's get a little bit more on this rooftop. I was sent some samples by someone, and they put like icicles hanging off of their roof. This one's a little bit too dark right here. I'm not going to have icicles, but but then again, you know, I mean, I do have those other colors of paint pens too that you can use, or I can use here. I'm kind of going in with the angle of the roof here with this little scribbly work. I'm not getting a very much of a flow going on right now, but I'm kind of using that to my advantage here, just kind of spreading around a very light application of this ink. All right, so that worked there on that rooftop, I think. Here's this fence right here, and we can do the same type of thing on there. that. This area right here got a little too speckled for me. That was a little bit too much texture. Let's go in there and mute that a little bit. That. There's the black, and let me hit that with a little white again. It's like that the white impressions didn't quite disappear as much as I thought they would, so I'll just kind of obscure them a little bit by cutting down the contrast between that white and the background by making the road lighter. Or you can make it darker too if you want to, but just cut the contrast between them a little bit more, like that. All right, so let's go in now. Speaking of, using this, let's go in and use a little bit of a foggier element and add in a little bit of depth if we can. I'm still thinking about that silver for trees down here. Maybe, that might look kind of cool. It's looking a little bit busy to me right now, though. So maybe not. I think a little bit more. Another image I think would be even more contrasty. This is a little bit busy down here, though, isn't it? I tell you what, let's do something else right here. Where did it go? Oh. Let's do this. Maybe this will be a good compromise here. This is looking a little bit too busy right here. So let's go in with the tree and do one of the things I was mentioning that we could have done with that silver piece to begin with, is maybe going with white, but going with black over the top of it. And maybe this will kind of anchor and frame the scene a little bit more too, like this. So I don't know what type of impression I'm going to get from this black over the top of all that white underneath it, that built up white too with the paint pen, but let's see. Okay, I think it looks fine. So again, it's kind of going, I'm using this thick ink here. Okay, and this is the road, so I don't want that right there because the road's coming down this way, but you can kind of put this over like this though. Okay, that helped there. So you see what you're doing. Anytime, if there's like stuff that's going on in your scenes, a lot of times, for me, sometimes, there's just elements in my scenes that get a little bit too crazy. So what I do is I just kind of mute them a little bit, or a lot. I guess this was pretty extreme right here, but that white all throughout the background is creating this kind of, it's a similar texture over these trees everywhere in here, okay? So I'm just kind of going in, now I'm adding a little bit more of a black vignette around here to mute these trees of that similar texture in there. And that kind of mellows it out a little bit. And because these black trees are down here, I can use this black down here. Before, if it was just all white, that black down there would look kind of weird. It wouldn't match, okay? Yeah, the mirror cards, they are just, they add a gigantic, visual to it. The one thing I want everyone, like I said, it's just how easy they are to do. But you just have to use your, use the right inks on it. I was using the Brilliance inks on that mirror card portion, but I think the StazOn's better because you don't have to spray seal that StazOn and affix the imagery to that silver portion. But if you want to blend in some other areas on that mirror card portion, then you got to go with the brilliance. But I would still probably recommend doing the impressions in the StazOn. And Linda was saying, Linda got something. She found that if you get your impression off or skewed or something like that with the StazOn on that foil, the StazOn cleaner will clean. We'll wipe it right off, which is good to know, because like I said, when you're stamping on that slippery foil surface, it's easy to kind of skew an impression a little bit, so be careful about that. All right, so that is that. Hello, Jen. Hello, Donna. Yeah, let's add a little bit of stars up here. A little sparkly star up here would have, been cool too. A little North Star, something of that sort. All right, this looks a little muddy. I haven't worked with this type of paper before, or in a long time at least. This like construction-y type of paper. So whatever I do on here, it seems like it's really very forward in here. So I added some black down there. That area down there looks totally muddy looking. So I'm going to put some white over the top of it. It's because it's not a sealed like cardstock or something like that. It's really grabbing the ink really fast. I'm just used to working on kind of a little bit more of a sealed surface here, so adding that white back in there, making it a little bit more pure looking, and then, okay, so my little misty type of effect that I like to do on my scenes, I'm going to be a little bit more delicate and slow with my application of this white, just so I don't get like this really super light area that's not going to be easy to remedy or something like that, because it's stuck, like it's I can't rub it, remove it too much, if at all. Okay, let's make that moon a little bit more. Oh, let's give it a little bit more of a soft glow. And again, I'm trying to be careful not to get this like blob on there. Okay, I'm just putting some over these trees too in the foreground like that. All right. Not my favorite paper to work on, but yeah, it's good. This one is a good exercise for me. You have to be, when you play around with these different types of papers like this too, like, I wanted to work with that super mirrored. Okay, so this is like the opposite of the mirror holographic that I've been working on, the past couple days, like this. This is like super sealed off, okay, and non-porous. This one's like really porous, so and textured, uncoated, etc. So it's good to kind of play around with those types of things, because I think, it kind of sensitizes your touch a little bit going into this, so that when you go back and work on other types of materials, you'll kind of be, I don't know, whatever, a little bit more kind of in tune with maybe some of the finer kind of touches, that might come into play with those surfaces. Okay. Like I'd never be able to get that kind of that application, that was all done with this pen here. Now you can see like the lighter version of it right here being applied. Like you couldn't do this on another surface right here. Like this, what I'm doing right here. This is just kind of applying a little bit of white ink at a time, I think. I don't know if you could. Maybe you could, but I don't know. It's the first time I've done that. So anyway, okay. It's getting clogged up with the media. Jeannie, if you're still working, I'm thinking of you now when I'm doing this right here, looking at some of your marks and textures that you get in your scenes. Thinking maybe that's what you're doing there. To get those little kind of, little textural applications like that in the background or on your surfaces. I'm getting a little bit more painterly here, which is a good thing because I'm not usually painterly, but I like painterly types of touches on pieces. All right, so that is that. Okay, I got carried away with these pieces here. I didn't get like 12 done like I had hoped, especially on this piece right here because it was like layered and layered and layered. So a piece of scrap paper. All right, this is why I can't. Even on these smaller pieces, I get totally I don't know, whatever, sucked into the little detail types of things in here. I wanted to resolve some things in here on this type of paper. Like I said, this is just like some cheap paper here. But I think we got some decent amount of depth in here. And again, these black trees right here for me, I'm going to remember that one. In terms of framing off this area down here, it was just too cluttered and busy with the same textures down here, so that kind of stabilized that area down here. And plus having some darker elements like this, sometimes it's only just going with a little vignette, but you couldn't do that black vignette there with all these trees right here in white. So these trees kind of solve that issue. This would be kind of cool with a little bit of glitter or something like that, So this piece right here, this piece with the piece thing, this became a little bit too cluttered in here. And like I said, I can go in and remove some of those little I splatter painted it too much, but I like these little crystals on here. I think this piece is a little bit too big. I think I'd like this in like that 2x2 inch type of format. You wouldn't have as many trees on there, but I think that would be a really great little card or element on a whole card. This is like kind of big. It's almost like card size itself. But if you had this like on a little 2x2 inch, with the trees, a little bit, a couple trees or something like that, and a couple little stars like that, I think that would be a great little piece in there like that with the, with the silver. This is white and black like that. I think there's a decent amount of depth within that little area like that. The white looks like it's a little bit more forward than the silver because it's lighter. So that white really stamped really, really light on there, though, too. So you can play around with that, too. Maybe that tree should have been the one that was in the leafless tree because it's, it's a little bit more spindly and lighter, where this one would probably be cool with the silver, huh? So I think if I was to do this again, I think I'd do these ones in silver because it would recess a little bit more. And then I would have the leafless limbs coming out in white maybe, or you can do them in silver too. No, I think the white is needed in here against this silver cardstock like that. And then here we have the iridescent purple like that. Again, I think there's a decent amount of depth. And I think on here, I think I learned that the that black over the top of that white cloud in there with the StazOn ink, I think that looks pretty good when you couple it with the darker foreground in here. If these were in StazOn right here, and that same value of like a 80% gray, I don't think the scene looks good. you know? So I don't have to remember that, just with a thinner, kind of more translucent ink when stamped over white, okay? That stays on, looks really black on top of a white piece of paper or something like that. It's just as black as anything I've found, which kind of surprised me, but I think this piece looks pretty good with that background. Maybe it doesn't have to be StazOn. Maybe it could have been like another type of ink, but having that heavier kind of pigment ink in the foreground really helped this little tiny piece like that. I think there's a lot of depth in there, and it's not. I don't know. It's a little. It's like 2.5 by. I don't know. This is like 2 3/4 or something like that. But I'll format these, and we'll see what these pieces come out like. This one, I don't know. I might do a couple extra things on this. I'm not quite sure, but I'll let it sit for a little bit. But here's 3 more scraps right here. You don't really find too many pieces of white scrap, I guess, in my scrap bin, because if I have a piece of white scrap that looks like that, I'd probably toss it or something like that. But with these other kind of funkier types of foils or holographics or, colored pieces of paper, I tend to save them. If for nothing more, just, I can mat something else out on it, over the top of it. Because I don't have a huge array of colored papers out there. They're all the iridescents and the foils and holographics and all that type of stuff. A lot of which I've been buying over this last year too. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see. The paper ads. Were you talking about the blue one right there, Travel Dreamer, the paper? In terms of the mood of it. Yeah, these colored papers, they really establish the moods of these pieces. Okay, so that's one of those things. Even when I'm starting off with a white piece of paper, I always felt that the lighting and more than the imagery are the things that create the mood of a scene. And that's usually what I'm kind of focusing on for the most part. Glad you like it, Phyllis. But then when you start off with these inherently colored pieces, you're starting off with kind of an inherent mood to it. Now, you can alter it, to probably move in any type of direction. I think this one would be interesting, too. I think you could put these silvers or gold ink over the top of this one, and that would look different. But you're starting off with kind of an already inherent head start on your kind of mood creations or something like that. So it's the emotional qualities of the pieces that, I'm always going for. And again, I think you get a little bit of a head start on something like this. Now, maybe you can't make, you know what I mean? I don't know how many moods are within this type of thing, like the busier it is, maybe the more kind of locked in you are going towards a certain type of look to it. But again, it's kind of a nice head start to kind of establishing that, whatever kinesthetic, emotional quality of a piece. And you don't have to worry about it so much with the lighting because, again, and especially with reflectives like this, you get that reflective lighting coming off of it. So that influences, if you look in this scene under daylight or something like that, it's going to look probably a lot different than under like my fluorescent lights that I have in here right now. Here's an incandescent light on here. It's a little bit warmer. So again, those colors on here probably alter a little bit, that warmer light now. I mean, I have, now I have the fluorescents and the incandescent on here, but they just look a little bit different. And then there's those crystals that are going to be reflective of, there's different colors in there as well. So I don't know, just fun stuff. And, they're pretty easy to utilize. Just use the right types of ink. Someone mentioned, there were a couple comments on, I think, Facebook. I hadn't logged on to Facebook in a while, but they said, hey, no matter what I'm doing on my holographic paper or vinyl, they just said nothing is drying on there, and they use the same type of ink that I was using. But I said, hey, it sounds to me like you're using the holographic vinyl, not the printable holographic vinyl. Okay, so just, and then another person was mentioning, I think, something with the, oh, there was something else, but it was a different combination that you're using. So just use the right combinations, on these types of papers and you'll be fine. All right, there's a little bit. I've just changed my exposure there on my camera, so this one looks a little bit better darker. Well, all that blinding light coming off of it like that. But again, I'll play around with that again. All right, so anyways, some little tiny little pieces like this, and I'll try to figure out a good format for them for cards, and I'll post what these come out like that. I'm not sure what to frame this one off in, as far as colors go or whatnot. I'm limited as far as like, my colors, so I don't have a huge array of papers to do that, to frame, mat these off in, but we'll see what we can come up with here. All right, so let's see. Jeannie, which one looks like a photo? The blue one? Yeah, I need to go with those more painterly touches there. I need to get more Jeannie-like there. Jeannie's doing it with a brush, though, right? I need to get more gesture into my scenes. I like kind of the gesture in the background a little bit. So it's obscure. If we put some kind of gestural elements into the silver, that would be awesome too. I don't know what to do. If someone had like an airbrush, they can do that. But I don't have one. So piece of the starlit sky T-wall. All right. So a few more scraps, 3 more scraps here. Scraps to scenes. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Hello, Laura D. Check out the replay, or check out I'll do like a 10-minute version of this too. It'll be less painful. unless there's something you want to see in particular. I really like, my favorite one here is this one for sure. And it's that grayish print and this in the foreground like that. I really like this little format right here. And then that moon, I think, added to it. So I need to do something with this moon. I need to put a little bit more like a haze of cloud up there or something like that. I think that would do nicely in there. Or, like Santa Claus going across there. Something like that. But yeah, I'll see if I might work a couple other things in it. Like my last scenes too. I think I added a little bit of silvery touches in here, into my snow on my last scrap video too. After I don't know, like a day or two or something like that, I was looking at it. Oh, I think in like this one too. I didn't use silver up here in these stars. I think I put a couple little silver stars up there with a silver paint pen, and I think that would be pretty good. I don't know. It's a little bit too busy, like I said, with that all that splatter painting in there. I should have washed off my paintbrush though before I did that one. I didn't think it would do that. It gave like super fine mist in there. I think because the bristles were just too like firm with that paint in there. But I know. In other words, I'm going to tweak these. A lot of times I just don't tweak my pieces after I'm done. It's like I'm done with it, I'm moving on. But on these ones where I'm doing some experimentation, a lot of times things aren't occurring to me until like a day or two later. Oh, we could have added in this or this, to it. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Add light into the window. On this one right here, well, this one right here, there's no kind of interior on this one. But yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. And that would be cool. We need someone like walking with like a little lantern. I think that would be cool. Coming like I need a new figure that's carrying like a lantern so that we can add in a little light into their lantern, put a little glow or something like that, or, something like that. Some kind of little focal point in here would be kind of cool. It's too busy back in here to add in a deer. I'd have to have it, it would have to be like dinky or something like that. but some kind of other little additional focal point or something like that. And right down here is kind of a prime area for it. I guess I can have like a figure like walking in there. But what, what would they be doing out at night? I don't know, you know, but it'd be kind of cool. It would pull the viewer's eye kind of this way a little bit more. And this area is kind of wide open. But like I said, you can't put a tree there or something like that because it would be, the tree would be like right in front of the road or something like that, you know. It could be like a figure of the person that, you know what I mean? They appear every, 5 years, whatever, on the anniversary that they disappeared there. But maybe that would be more of an October scene. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Whatever time it is for you, thanks so much for joining in and helping me out with a lot of those types of aspects to all the different media out there. The inchies, it's fun to talk about, things in the past, in inchies and to get a little bit refresher course on some of the processes and media that was used, like, you know what I mean? On soot cards. Someone do a soot card and some inchies, I want to see those again sometime. I'll try to get to something of that sort at some point in time too. Maybe I'll pull out some of the inchy stamp board pieces and I'll do that little mosaic thing again, I've done that on the channel before, but I don't think too much. I think I've done a triptych, at 3 of the 1 by 2 inch pieces maybe, or something like that. But yeah, we'll have to do like a little mosaic arrangement with those inchy stamp board pieces, I think. I say the inchy stamp board pieces. I don't feel like cutting out a bunch of 1 by 1 pieces and stamping on them. It's that's too complicated for me. All right, everyone. Glad you like the covered bridge scene, Jeannie. Maybe that's what I need. I need more of those little painterly touches in there. I'm gonna get my paint pen flowing much freer and get some of that more gestural kind of motion in there, a la Genie-esque types of touches in there. All right, folks. Thanks so much again. Hope to see you on the next live.